All right, sweet. So I just got a couple of questions here for you, and then at the end, if you want to like just add in anything that you feel like we haven't covered, by all means, just jump in and add whatever
Sure.
you like to say. Um, but so my first question is, I wanted to know more about what drew you to organizing and to PJP specifically.
Oh, that's a good question. So many years ago,
Hmm.
I was on the university. I was at Ohio State. I was a student, and it was during the beginning phases of Trayvon Martin. And on the campus, you know, there was this thing that happened. So I study African studies, post-colonial studies, and there was a department that was called the Hale Center, and it was a Black Studies department, like the area we all hung out and everything. Now, I had class that day. I had Ghana, some course about Ghana, political economy, and it's early in the morning. I'm walking over, I'm riding my bike over there, and on the Hale Center, someone spray painted "Long Live Zimmerman" on the Hale Center, and all hell broke loose.
Hmm.
Ohio State. If you know anything about Ohio State, it's massive.
Yeah.
And the African population is relatively large, but at the time, OSU was next to the African community. So
Yeah.
right across the street is Wyland Park, where we all live, all the Africans. And so boom, so the campus went bananas, right? Like, and that was part of African People's Socialist Party. So like we was outside doing things on campus, and I ran into a group called Ohio Student Association, and we began organizing around Trayvon. However, the real big peak was um, during that during the trial when Zimmerman was exonerated. Uh, I was doing the summer program called Freedom School, and that Sunday when we got the verdict was on Saturday, I believe it was. I was supposed to do a Freedom School Sunday, which is essentially like the kids get together, the parents are there. What a great summer! And I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do my thing, you know what I mean? But that day, I was like, I'm scratching everything, and I'm going to give a speech about how I actually really feel. And so I did that. And we found out that along the way, that they were introducing the bill, the Stand Your Ground law in Ohio. And a bunch of us from Ohio Student Association organized with a parent organization, OOC, to do a direct action downtown. And so we had like about 300 people show up from around the state. It was massive, it's crazy. And then we did die-ins, all that cool shit you heard. But
Hmm.
then the entry, I know it's long-winded, but I think this is
Hey,
key.
wow.
Yeah, this is key. But it was after that, when everyone left, when we're like, well, we live in the city, like when the bill came to, when we were going to go over the bill, we decided to do a banner drop in the middle of session. And so I still to this day, comrade, have no idea how we got that banner in. Because I mean, it was massive. We had about 7 of us show up, and we go upstairs, we sit there for a couple hours, and they announced the bill. And then we dropped that banner. My role was to say some slick shit. And then boom, and the pigs roll up and we get kicked out and all that. And then we found a couple days later, we blocked the bill. And it was from there, comrade, where I understood scientifically the art of organizing, art of power. And I've been obsessed ever since. You know what I mean? I've been I'm obsessed with the art, you
Yeah.
know. When you see that we can with that people can change their conditions and create history
Hmm.
and be actors in history, comrade. And it doesn't take much. Um, that's that's when it began. So it's
Yeah.
about like 12 years ago. And PJP was formed. So to answer the other question, PJP was built. So during that development with OSA, I was the program director. I had an after school program under the leadership of OSA. And I had high school students during the movement of Black Lives in the hot phase, Ferguson, Baltimore, that good shit. And we had a lot of murders here in Ohio where you had John Crawford, you had Tamir Rice, you had, and we was outside, like we was beautiful development, but we was outside for real. And I had the students would come with us, 16-year-old, 17-year-old students would come and do the marches and do the occupations and stuff. And eventually the parents started trusting us and they started coming to my Wednesday night training. So I would do just random trainings and random discussions from the academy. I would do African history and all whatever. And then parents started coming in and then they started coming to actions. And so as you're organizing African adults, that you can't really have them saying the Ohio Student Association. And so eventually, a bunch of orgs came down to what we called the Freedom Hub at the time and did a map of Ohio, all the criminal justice work happening. You had zero tolerance policy all the way to re-entry. And through that process, all saying that we should just do this work as a coalition. And then I was in the room and I had this name sitting on my notebook for years. And they were going through names to call the coalition. And I was like, why don't we call it People Justice Project? And it was like, I was fired. I'm like, yeah, I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I took it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm the founder of JP. And then we did a lot of work from civic engagement work in Central Ohio. Then we built it statewide for a hot second there. We did a lot of work around civic engagement. But the real peak was when Henry Green was murdered in Columbus. And so once that happened, we had to make a critical decision, comrade. Either we act, because we knew once we go public like that, there's no going back, like it's live. You know what I'm saying? And from our tradition of direct action organizing, from Occupy all the way to Hot Face BLM, you knew, like if we go outside, it's on. You know what I'm saying? And so made a decision, and we did the first direct action against the prosecutor, and did a lot of dynamic organizing around that couple of 3 years. But luckily we're still here. Leading struggle in Columbus and getting a lot of respect, new respect from the people through its phases. But that's the gist of it.
Wow, that's a really powerful start to your work in the organizing, to PJP.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was more so like you had to answer that question, comrade. Like when you see African people in direct action and spontaneity, Kwame taught us a long time ago, what if we plan it? And from our studies, we know that we have to get people in fights and end campaigns. You know what I mean? So they can see the material conditions literally change in front of them and quantify that process, you see? And so all the activities have to be housed in an organization. We always say this: organization is our only defense from outside forces, period. You know what I mean? And organization over everything. It's like, you take the disorganized ideas of the people and organize them and bring it back to them and they build, and that's all it is. The sexy stuff from the direct actions is how people get engaged, but that's not it. And so we made sure that the practice that we engage in is centered in that piece of trying to move away from spontaneity and more organized action, where it's organized, where you have 500 people that you actually know, you know what I mean? Or 500 relationships or 500 institutions you can move. We call it dueling and contending state, we call it, where you can see the mass of people come outside under the flagship of the organization.
Also, sorry, there's a blender going on in the background. Can you say?
Hear it?
All right. So you it actually kind of is a good lead into my next question. You were talking about like your fascination by the art of organizing. So I was just wondering, what are like the models or examples of community safety and alternatives to policing that like now and in the past 12 years that you've been doing the work that have most inspired you, and been for you like, hey, like this is a dope model, a dope idea, this is what we would like to see here in Ohio?
That's a really good question. for me personally, we train people that the issue is never primary. It is the organization and how we absorb people into organization, what they care about. The models that we find through process, where you saw the civilian review boards, we learned through that process that, oh, wait, there's no veto power. You know what I mean? Like, and it's all quantitative developments where the models that we come up with, we know there's going to be contradictions within them, but we don't necessarily know at the time, so we struggle and fight, and then we learn, oh wait, this is not it, because we're dealing with colonial institutions. We're dealing with colonization. We're dealing with institutions that are built to subjugate us, period. So as we try to create the conditions for people to raise consciousness of this reality, the issue comes in, and then we point. This is where we're going. You know what I mean? And so right now in our current work, we're trying to build out a alternative policing, a form where when you call 911, what do they call it? Responses. What's it called? Oh man, I can't remember. It's off top. Crisis responses.
Yes.
Where, you know what I mean? Like that young man that got killed yesterday, right? 2 days ago. Like we're trying to create something in Columbus where if a situation happens in the community, that the people do not necessarily call 911 first, they call another thing. And then on the back end, that program is led and ran by the people in the community.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to do here, because it makes sense in current history where it is, because we've learned through the process that all these so-called alternative models are a stepping stone of raising consciousness of our base, because at the end of the day, we're organizers. We just want to organize shit. And at the end of the day, we just want to fight. You know what I mean? Like, where's the fight at? You know what I mean? Like, and when you see people, when we go, like right now, we're going to community conversations in a couple of weeks. And when you see people, leaders in the team, like get excited about that, that's what drives you in the struggle. You know what I mean? Like they're in it. They're like, oh, we're going to do some dope shit. Yes, we are. And you're going to be leading it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to watch that process is what it is. But and to answer your question more clearly, the current thing we're doing is creating a crisis response program. And that looks like it's going to be a bigger fight, which I'm always down for. You know what I'm saying? But we have partners in the community who are very interested in it, which I was surprised. But considering the current developments with the Palestine and all these things happening, I was really shocked. They're like, okay, people are so interested in colonial domination in the city. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily externally. So that's where we're at right now in the work. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. That's definitely a model that we're, at TTPF, we're seeing a lot of grantee partners really successfully be able to implement. Like, I don't know if you've been following in like the Boston area, one of our grantee partners out there, for a couple of years now, they've had that model of, instead of the police, here's a whole separate team of folks that you can call that are from the community and who aren't going to go in there guns a-blazing, who are going to go in there with, the care that people need, right? The care and the sort of like healing communal perspective that folks need.
Yeah, for sure, because we oftentimes train the leaders that we must organize and recognize that the people are not a means to an end, but we are a means to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that took process of going through all the traditional avenues of prosecutor, let's get a prosecutor out, let's do this form, let's do this reform over here, let's do this thing over here. And then we're like, wait, let's double back a little bit and have a clear analysis of what we've been doing. Because I left for like about 2 years from PJP to get more clear of study, clear of what's happening in the country, clear what's happening in the other things, just to get a clear analysis of what next steps should be. Coming back, and what we learned is that as opposed to, yes, we're going to fight the state, period. You know what I mean? But what if we change the tactic to a different type of formula where we're actually orienting people to a solution that doesn't have to do anything with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and what does that look like? It could be a ballot measure. It can be for the city council could do. You don't know,
Yeah.
but at least that we're not having to do direct relationship building with the state, you know, or people coming outside and being like, "Fuck the police." I don't want to deal with them anymore, comrade. Like, I just don't want to deal with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm at the stage of development in my leadership where it's like, we've done all of this stuff. What's the next thing? Let's go outside of the state. You said communal, right? Communalism, the sense of like, how can the people organize themselves and fight for themselves outside of the state?
Yeah.
You see? And that's, I think, where we're at currently in the organization.
Okay. Also, this isn't a question that I had planned for our interview. But it's kind of connected to like, I know right now I sort of invited you to talk about your work for this blog for the committee. But another thing that CTPF is planning on working on, going back to 2014 and Tamir Rice and other folks that you mentioned, it's the 10th anniversary this year of, you know, those murders and like of that really just massive uprising in 2014. And so we're kind of working on like where is the movement now 10 years later, and what have we all learned? And so I guess a question that's it's not so much for the blog, but maybe for that piece that we're working on is it sounds to me like that's been a big lesson for y'all in the last 10 years. Like maybe earlier on in your organizing work, there was a willingness, not just for PJP and for you, but like for people all over the nation to like try to work with the system, to try to work with the DOJ, to try to work with prosecutors. Would you, so that is that like accurate? Like maybe that's
I mean, we were, I would say like this. We just were just trying to do shit. And we were students. Of us. And this was the first time we were engaged in movement work. We're right off the back end of Occupy Wall Street during that time. So we were rowdy, you know. We were the world was ripe for revolution during the time. Young people were in the streets. We were outside for real. The question of capitalism came into existence in the street. We were doing trainings about socialism and political economy in the street. You know, that was galvanizing. But what does that mean in real time, in the real world? So we end up learning that we organize in the real world. You know, oftentimes people do not follow thought or the thought leaders. They follow strength of the organization or the strength of the core, you know, or even indeed power. So what we find in our experience as PJP is that Black power became a thing where we stopped saying Black Lives Matter. We started saying Black Power Matters, you know, and we kept saying it. And we talked about Black power. We're fighting against it. We're no longer fighting. We don't even use terms of racism and these things anymore because it keeps whiteness in the conversation. We are always talking about colonialism and slavery. And that invites everyone into the discussion of saying these institutions in the real world are what's affecting everybody. And indeed, the African class of people are going to be leading the struggle and other colonized people. So we talk about racism, it keeps it into conversation of equality to white people. You know what I mean? We're talking about self-determination and power that invites everyone into the room. You know what I mean? Like that's it. And inside of that context, comrade, you have a demand in it, not lives mattering, but power. And so when you have the demand in there, you're able to invite the people to not confused of what they're struggling for. You know what I mean? And so that is the context of where the movement has moved us. Where in the city, in the state, or when we show up, they know what we're about. You know what I mean? We're not some like, you know, militant arm, you know, but like they know that when PJP's in the building, we're going to get busy. We're going to tell you what's about in the real world. And again, we say, this whole, you know, remember the philosophical idealism of like, you know, safe spaces with white people. Like, nah, we ain't doing none of that shit. It's like, No, we're in the real world. That happened over there. That's a state. You know what I'm saying? And being able to organize people around um, a struggle against colonialism, against slavery, and that's how we did it. You
Yeah.
know, it was easier that way, as opposed to having modules about, an idealistic world where racism doesn't exist. The fuck out of here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to, we want to be honest with the people.
Yeah. That's fire. And actually it kind of connects to what I was gonna ask you next. Um I like the framing of it away from like race to power,
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, it kind of brings everybody to the table. Because something that we're really focused on at Borealis too is like looking at how policing and the prison system like also disproportionately impacts queer people and trans people and folks with
Mm-hmm.
disabilities, migrants, and so I was actually gonna ask you a little bit about that. And my next question is like, yeah, like sort of how does intersection of all of these different communities um like factor into the work that PJP does?
Hold on. Let me grab a cigarette real quick. Be
Yeah, go.
right back. Like 2 seconds. I like that question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make a full breakfast. How much longer do you have? Like, when should I? How much longer are you needing it?
Oh, go ahead. I'll
Yeah.
just pick it up when you're done.
Okay.
Intersections.
Mm-hmm.
We are crystal clear with the people.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fucking basic, right? We organize. And it's a mission statement. It says, black and brown people, da 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 da. When it's street, I'll tell you what we say. We organize the African working class and oppressed people to lead the struggle against mass. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When we say the African working class and oppressed people, we are talking about all African working class oppressed people. You know what I'm saying? So the intersection is, if you got a problem with someone's identity, you ain't rolling with us.
Right.
Period. You know what I mean? Like, because we say in our lesson, in our trainings, we give the people, we say, history shapes your culture and your identity. If you were kidnapped from Africa and transformed in the first commodity capital, the capital first workers, the capitalism, slavery, all this good shit we say, you're in Africa. We lead with Africa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no question. You know what I'm saying? Your identity is not shaped in our minds by how you present to the world. If you are affected by state violence, you rolling with us. You know what I mean? Period. Disabled. I don't give a fuck what it is. Because at the end of the day, the enemy is the state. It's not each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have similar experiences with the state. I oftentimes say in our trainings that most of us who are of color, we're Africans or colonized people, our introduction to politics is not based off of a ballot. It's based on relationship to the state.
Mm-hmm.
That first time you realize your class position is your relationship to the state. That can be a police officer in your school. That can be a teacher. That can be anybody. That's when you realize where you are in the pecking order. And the only way we understand it is, comrade, come home. Do you know what I mean? Come home. Let's figure this out together. Because at the end of the day, we can only figure this out because we are all colonized people, period. You know what I mean? That's where the buck stops. You know what I mean? And really, didn't Che teach us a long time ago that if you quiver with any type of injustice, you're a comrade of mine?
Mm-hmm.
Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go. Now don't come in here with some bullshit. Like, I've had a brother have a problem. I never forget this. I'm gonna tell you this story. It's real. Brother came in, he was doing work with us a couple years back. And you see he was iffy because we had a couple queer folks, you know what I'm saying? Those, and he had a little issue. So I had to pull the brother aside, like, what's what's wrong, man? I don't like how they doing it, man. I'm like, they feminizing the movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, feminize the movement? What do you mean by feminize the movement? I mean, the Harriet Tubman feminized the movement? The Ella Baker feminized the movement? Huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sasha Core. I mean, yeah, it made no sense to me, brother. As idealism, you are actually struggling with your own self and your own problem with your own self, of your own identity as African. Because they're killing it. You can go home now and figure it out, but not in here. We got to have safe space with the people. That's how we kind of frame everything around our work, brother. I mean, we don't got time to be worrying about identity politics. We getting shot in the street. The fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really doing? We're trying to build a better world. We have to think, we have to decolonize our minds.
Yeah.
First. And
Sure.
that's how I look
Sure.
at it. I hope that answers your question about intersection.
Yes, it does. Thank you. My next question is, obviously all of this is real heavy shit. And as you said, you gotta eat, you gotta rest, you gotta, sort of feed yourself before you can be out in the streets. And so my question is connected to that, like, I think joy is also really important. Finding the joy in the work and finding the joy in the struggle. And so, like, where are you finding that?
Joy. So I got married recently.
Hey, okay,
Yeah.
congratulations.
And, part of the interesting part about the joy, I love the work. I find joy in them. I really, really, really love it. You know what I mean? Like, wake up every morning with freedom on your mind and knowing there's a leader out there that wants to get busy and your job is to go find them. You know what I mean? Or like chasing that, like, that feeling, of like, we're going to change history. Like, we're actors in history. But when I got married, I'm just a regular nigga here, man. You know what I mean? She has 4 kids and they were younger then. They're bigger now. But like, I am nothing special, So like, it's humbling when you gotta take the trash out and watch random television shows. And I find joy in the household, right? Like, for example, like, I've been, I've been outside for a long time and doing the things. And it's been me and the comrades. Like, this really has all been trauma, healing, deaths, people dying, it was hard. And your heart gets stoned, you know what I mean? You become something different. You become something different. Where you accept the possibility of death in jail. You accept the conditions. You're like, okay, either for the people or not for the people. There's no lukewarm. And so you get there, but when you find somebody who doesn't give a shit about it, you know what I mean? Like, it's a regular civilian, like, and they like you for you, that's different. That's a different vibe, And I will say that balances everything out. Because now I understand what folks were saying in the past about having a balance. And also I enjoy lifting weights and punching bags and things. And, but I do find joy in the work. Because I say to leaders all the time and the staff, I go, on our worst day, when like coalition's not working and someone's talking, you know what I mean, talking some shit, and you didn't get that grant. I mean, like, or whatever. We are doing exactly what we want to do every day. You know what I'm saying? So like, you really can't really complain. You know what I mean? Like, and if you start complaining, you shouldn't be around. You know what I mean? Like, because we get to wake up every day, and I watch my wife go to work. She's 9 to 5. I haven't had 9 to 5 and ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so like, I watch her do the things and come home from work and talk about her day, her people. And I work with my comrades, my friends, every day. You know what I mean? So I find joy in that and peace, and that we're trying, comrade.
Yeah.
And history remember our names, at some point,
That's dope, man. Well, congratulations. Love,
Yeah,
that was a real special thing. I
yeah, yo,
I moved in with my partner last month.
yeah,
So yeah, so that's been pretty exciting.
commitment, comrade. Like it's a different situation. Like, I mean, like salute to that because you need to have something that balances it out. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And enjoy. Like, I went on vacation for the first time. You know what I mean? And that was weird.
Yeah.
Oh, we went. Where did we go? We went to Florida. Did we go to
Oh
Florida?
shit. I'm in Florida actually.
Oh, right now we did a road trip to she
Nice.
likes Harry Potter, so I got surprised with some Harry Potter Johns at the Orlando, and we took a road trip, and like I remember why I love her. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot of fun. I rode a horse. You know, like this weird shit, and that type of stuff like gives me. 'Cause I know she's gonna push me to like, yo, we gotta get out of here. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I salute to your commitment over there with your partner because it's going to be fun. You know, I salute anyone who commits to anything. Honestly.
All right, man. I got two more questions here for you.
Yeah,
One
go ahead.
is so we're all about like knowledge sharing. So wanted to ask you what's like a lesson or a message, now that you're sitting on the grant making committee that you would have to share with other community-based groups like PJP that are working to end state violence.
A lesson?
Yeah, like a lesson or like a takeaway or message that you could share.
Forever forward, unafraid together. The struggle is eternal. It's eternal. I mean, like you can't. I have it in my book. Hold on, let me actually say it.
Yeah.
This is the first. um, ah, talk about concept black power. Here it is. Say this. Organizing and political consciousness go hand in hand. It is a science and an art. It requires the skill and the capacity to quickly choose and change forms of struggle when the material conditions deem it necessary. It is a process that requires a keen focus and examination of society's internal and external contradictions that end in building organization, which is our only defense from outside forces. In other words, organizing is an internal process.
Mhm.
That's how we train our leaders, period. It's like, like you're in the river of no return, baby. You know what I'm saying? Until death.
Right.
It quantify itself, and then hopefully we do some damage. That's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you for asking.
And then my last question here is what's a message that you would have for philanthropy, for funders about how to just how to be better, because I feel like philanthropy is constantly um behind, and we're trying, like, at least Borealis as an org, we're trying to get philanthropy to wake up and to really like do the shit that needs to be done. So yeah, what sort of message would you have for funders about how they could be doing their work to meet the movement better?
We recognize that the revolution will not be funded. And pushing the philanthropy is key to do for our work. But it doesn't drive us. A lot of us started doing this for free.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a blessing when God puts money into the coffers of the organization, and then you start structuring the organization and start figuring out how to do things. Honestly, comrade, I don't even want to answer that question because I don't know anything about really philanthropy world.
Mm-hmm.
I know organizing, I know how to build, I know what we do works, and they give us money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm able to be as African as possible on funder calls. People respect what we do. I've never had a code switch.
Okay, nice.
in the work ever. And I don't know why that is, man, because the money we get, they know what we do. You know what I'm saying? As long as we get the numbers. But I'm always humbled when we do get loot, and it's always like a win for the people. It's like we got this to do the stuff we want to do. You know what I mean? And so I wouldn't know what to say to foundations because Borealis good with me. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like, and some other ones are good with me. I have no problem with how y'all get busy. Like, and that's really the biggest loot we got was from Borealis. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like we have our local funders, and they're pretty legit, but we know them. You know what I mean? Like we see them outside at the bar. You know what I'm saying? Which is really strange. But I don't know if I can answer that question intelligently for your work. So I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man. Anything else you want to share that we haven't covered?
No, actually, no, I don't. Thanks for asking the questions, though, man. It made me actually think. So hope this works for you.
Oh no, it really think like I've done a couple of these interviews and like this is generally like my favorite. Like yeah, like I don't know, there's just something about your energy and just really clearly like knowing your shit and saying it in such like an artful way that I really, really appreciate.
Well,
I'm sure I just want to say, I feel like people in the community are very lucky to have somebody like you as a leader. It's really very inspiring.
no, I'm lucky to have them.
Yeah.
It gives me something to do. No, I mean, like, I love the people, man. I tell people all the time, like, I won't give it up. Like, I tell people, I want to be able to get my cigarettes for free at the bodega, get my hair done.
Yeah.
If I get it free, I'm good. If I don't, I'm doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, take care of people take care of you, man. If you're
Yeah.
outside being authentic to who you are, not bullshitting, you know what I mean? I'm tatted up, dreads, everything, you know what I'm saying? It's like we're just doing the work that needs to be done. So I'm thankful for them more than anything. For blessing us to lead this thing in Columbus. Because if you fuck up, they'll remove you quick.
Yeah.
Not the church. We're not the church, brother. That pastor sit there for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? But in the street with the people, if you compromise on principle, if you compromise on objective, you compromise on anything, they will remove you from struggle. No matter what funding you got. You ain't got shit on people. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, so that's how I look at it. But I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You stay strong, all right?
Thank you. So yeah, I think I'm probably around the end of the month or so, like compile the notes and draft the blog. I'll send it your way just so you can see it and review it and make sure that I haven't like misconstrued anything. But
should I send it to my comms too? Does that make sense?
What was that?
You have a comms director. Should I shoot the comms too? Like, that's what I want to do. You send it to me and I'll send it to her and she'll do something with it as well as you.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
She's sure. Like, she's freaking crazy. She's so dope. Like, I don't know how she does the shit she does.
Yeah, the stuff that I see y'all sharing is like incredible.
Isn't it? Who is this motherfucker, man? Like, she came out of nowhere. She just like, she's insane. Like, where did you learn how to do this? Like, how did you know how to do this? Like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, I respect Tanisha so much. She's so like humble about it. It's like, sis, your shit is fire. And she told me something about TikTok and shit and how to do like memes, like whatever. She'll call me on the phone and be like, "Yo, it's African History Month. Write a blog. Write something." I'm like, "What? Yeah, write it." Okay. And I'll write something. And then I was on the website. It's like, "Oh, so we have a blog now? Yeah, we have a blog." You know what I mean? Like, just telling me.
Well, let her know that if she ever, wants us uplifting anything else that y'all do, just like any support that we can provide on the comms front, happy to share whatever on our socials and our blog.
I will definitely let her know.
Yeah.
Definitely. Appreciate you. I'll look out for your email, comrade.
All right, man.
All right, you stay strong, all right?
You take care.